They say there's nothing noble about being superior to the next man, but nobility is in being superior to your former self. January is late. It's already the second month of the year 2024. And I'd like to share with you 3 simple strategies to growing or outgrowing your former self. And the sincere truth is this: growth is a natural desire of every man. Nobody likes that point of stagnation, and nobody should be cajoled into staying there. They say stagnant water stinks. So if you don't want a stinking experience this year on your job, in the business that you do, in your relationship, it does not matter what exactly you do to add value to others and to yourself. But these 3 simple approaches can change the game for you. Number 1 is called the Bell Power Strategy. The Bell Power Strategy is understanding that life operates in a bell shape. In a bell shape simply means that in the beginning you have lower amount of people in the beginning, but in the middle there are a lot of people, right? And at the end there are extreme high performance, and then there are extreme low performance, and there are averages. Now you have to decide what part of these 3 parts of the bell do you want to stay. Do you want to stay with the extreme low performance, or you want to stay with the average performance, the mass, the critical mass, or you want to stay in the exceptional few, right? The bell power curve or bell power strategy is simply the shape of a bell, like this is the normal bell. It's called normal distribution curve in mathematics or in statistics, right? So you've got to make a decision, right? And sometimes it simply says these are the foundational years. These are the years in which you make tremendous effort. Why? Where you make a lot of effort between probably the ages of 18 to 45, right? And then between 0 and 18 should be the first part, right? The lower part of the bell. And then the middle part of the bell is where you have the large part of it, is called the midlife, right? Midlife, right? So from 18 to about 45 years old, a lot of things could happen within that time. Then when you get to the lower side, when you're tending towards legacy stage, right? The middle one is the constructive stage. The first part is called the extractive stage, right? And this is the constructive stage, and then this you have the celebration stage. So you've got to decide. You have to know what these 3 parts mean at every point in your life. So when you know that, you determine where you want to, where you exactly you want to function or you want to stay. Now understand this: in analyzing and navigating growth, the first thing to do is number 1, clarity. Be clear about what exactly you're doing and where you intend to go. Now, and then number 2 is what? Construction. When you are clear, then you begin to conceive and construct. Clarity brings conception. Conception needs construction. After construction, you need consistency, right? So you need to show up and be consistent about showing your work, right? You show up and consistently show your work. And then after consistency, you can now move to commercialization. This is where you begin to get economic benefits for the things that you have learned over the years. That's why it's possible to be an experienced person. You come to that stage where your experience becomes the raw material or the nursery for raising new generals in your area of expertise. Now, knowing fully well that consistency requires continuous improvement, right? So in consistency, you are updating and upgrading what you have learned in the past in order to be able to fit into the future. So this is how growth occurs, right? Then the next thing to do, the next one, will be in our part 2. So stay tuned and get part 2. Welcome to part 2. 3 different strategies to navigate your growth in 2024 and beyond. In part 1, we spoke extensively about the Bell Power Strategy. Now I want to talk about the power strategy. It's called the power curve or the power strategy, right? Now when we say the power curve or power strategy, it's the same thing with the Pareto analysis. If you're not familiar with what we call the Pareto analysis is simply the strategy that understands that 20% of your effort is going to yield 80% of your results, right? At the same time, understanding that 80% of your result is going to come from critical 20% of your effort. So this simply means that in a 24-hour day, right, there is a time and task that you must focus on in order to be able to get 80% of your to-do list knocked out. So I always advise that you don't have a cumbersome to-do list or a long to-do list. Just have a short to-do list, which is like a list of priority for that particular day. When you have your ultimate goal, then you now have what? Your prerequisite goals, right? Prerequisite goals are those goals you must achieve before you get to your ultimate goals. So you break your ultimate goals into prerequisite goals. The prerequisite goals now become the task for each day. They will become your milestones per day, broken down into your to-do list. So every single day, there is what we call the high focus moment. Your high focus moment is the best time where you have the highest concentration of energy to be able to deploy to the task and the goal you intend to achieve. So the power curve is about you critically moving together your best time, your best concentration to achieve the maximum best that is obtainable to you. That's the power curve, right? The Pareto analysis. What are the simple things that I can do that will bring me the maximum result or maximum yield, right? So that's one way in which to grow, identifying the core areas that bring the maximum benefits so that you are not majoring in the minor or minoring in the major, right? So that way you move your concentration, your energy, your resources into areas that bring the most profitable. So if you're doing a business, you must know the departments that are critical to the success of the process, right? So in doing that, in business as well, you must know the part of your business strategy that if it fails, everything fails, right? Like lead generation, customer centricity, process, payment process. These are critical aspects. The organization, the marketing, the selling, right? The scripting, the messaging. Every part of business is like every part of the body. So there's no part of the body that is actually a waste. Every single one of them has to function well to you to come to a state of health. The same thing happens with your business and happens with your job. So on the job as well, you will need to understand what your appraisal contains so that you can fashion your operational dynamics in relation to the objective of the organization, at the same time the effectiveness of your desk and the proficiency of the skills you are developing for the future that you intend to live, right? So that's about the power curve. I'll see you part 3 and we'll go to the end of it. Tell me what you've learned from this particular video. I'll see you in part 3. Yeah, welcome to the final part of the 3 strategies to navigate your growth in 2024 and beyond. We talked about the bell power strategy, bell curve strategy, and then we talked about the power curve strategy. Now we want to talk about the Chinese bamboo 3 strategy. Now, ancient story has it that about the Chinese bamboo tree. Now, this is such a special kind of story that is quite inspiring and challenging as well. It relates to what we do every day in navigating our dreams. Like I said, growth is the desire of every man, but there are times in our life, in our finances, in our business, in our career, that everything we are doing doesn't seem to add up, right? So it can be related to the Chinese bamboo tree. The Chinese bamboo tree is that plant that you put under the ground, the seed you plant, the Chinese bamboo tree. After you plant it, you are expected to water and nurture it consistently for 5 years. For 5 good years, you would not see any sign of growth. It will remain buried under the ground, but it is growing. So sometimes when you're working very hard and it looks like nothing is working, please understand that the fact that you are not yet seeing result does not mean that there is no result, right? The result might not be obvious. Even sometimes the people that you're working for may not even see the value of your work, but that does not mean that you're not working. Now, the fantastic truth is this: what seems not to be working is actually working on you. So while the Chinese bamboo 3 seed is under the ground and there is consistent effort for over 5 years and you don't see any improvement, check out what happens. After 5 years, it will only take 9 weeks of doing what you have been doing in the past 5 years to be able to grow that Chinese bamboo tree to 90 feet. So in 9 weeks, it will grow 90 feet. But would you say it is the 9 weeks that produce the 90 feet of growth? No, it is the accumulation